Welcome to Make It Big podcast and happy Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I'm Airon White, a manager of product marketing here at BigCommerce. Today I'll be speaking with one of BigCommerce's stalwarts of cybersecurity, Francis Dong, one of our senior security application engineers based in Australia. Francis, we are thrilled to have you on the show to talk cybersecurity with us. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for the introduction, Airon. This will be my first podcast that I've ever been a part of and extremely excited. Thank you for having me, and I'm happy to be a part of the Make It Big podcast.
Awesome. Well, it's my first podcast too, so we're going to get through this together. So before we get started into the actual Q&A, I want to talk a little bit about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. According to the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, since 2004, the President of the United States and Congress have declared October to be Cybersecurity Awareness Month, helping individuals protect themselves online as threats to technology and confidential data become more commonplace. Since then, the CISA and the National Cybersecurity Alliance have led a collaborative effort between government and private industries to raise awareness about digital security both nationally and internationally. But of course, even though October is the official Cybersecurity Awareness Month, cybersecurity matters all year long. So the information we're going to be sharing today is going to always be relevant. This year, the Cybersecurity Awareness Month theme is See Yourself in Cyber, which highlights that while cybersecurity may seem like a complex subject, at the end of the day, it is all about people. So this month, we're focusing on the people part of cybersecurity. With insights from our very own BigCommerce cybersecurity thought leaders, our goal is to empower merchants with strategies on how to establish a strong security culture within their organization. In today's episode, Francis is going to break down how to safeguard your business by inspiring internal teams to become security champions.
So I'm currently a senior application security engineer at BigCommerce. My role itself involves a lot of testing or hacking, as some people like to say, and of course securing BigCommerce's product, but it just doesn't stop there. I also work closely with the software engineers in determining flaws in the design of the product before they even code it up, and even help with triaging potential threats, targeting BigCommerce, and a lot of other things. So cybersecurity is important in this day and age. And the reason that it's so important is it's all about assessing the risk that affects your organization and protecting your organization against these risks. But it's not always done right. And we can see this on the news recently that a lot of companies have been breached. So in the world of e-commerce specifically, cybersecurity is important since it involves a lot of sensitive data or customers' data. So this ranges from personal identifiable information or PII all the way to a lot of payment or parts of payment information. And a lot of bad people want this kind of information. So it's really important that we secure it properly.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many people out there that are trying to hack their way into all of our systems. So security is super important to all of us, no matter if it's for personal or for business. You know, we are all need to be good stewards of security. So to set the stage, like, what do you see those top security challenges that e-commerce businesses are facing? And do you have any advice to address those challenges for them?
Yes. So there's quite a few security challenges that faces the e-commerce business that affects both the merchant and the customers. So the top three that I think that most e-commerce businesses face would be password reuse, phishing, and lack of multi-factor authentication. So password reuse is where you use one password for multiple accounts. So let's say your Facebook account got compromised and someone bad managed to get your password, and they're able to access your BigCommerce merchant account. All of a sudden, they have access to a lot of customers' personal identifiable information, their living addresses, and a whole bunch of other things. On the bright side, this is an easy fix. So just to overcome this challenge, you just need to invest in a password manager. They're pretty cheap. I think they're about $5 to $10 a year. But at the same time, if you can't invest in one for whatever reasons, there's also some free tiers that I would highly recommend. And at the same time, it generates passwords for you and stores them, so you don't even need to worry about remembering it.
That's awesome. That's so smart.
Phishing is another big one. So phishing is where someone attempts to impersonate a bigger company or another company in order to gain access to your sensitive information. Most of the time it's your passwords, but sometimes it's credit cards. When they gain access to your password, it becomes similar to the password reuse situation, where they can access your merchant or customer account to do fraudulent activities or to access a whole bunch of sensitive data. This one's a bit more difficult, but it's just about being vigilant and double checking the emails to make sure that it's who they say they are. And if you aren't sure, just go to the company's legitimate website and reach out to them. There's a lot of friendly support people that's willing to help you and making sure that you're not being scammed. And lack of multi-factor authentication affects merchants more than it affects customers, actually. Merchants are the one that's dealing with a lot of sensitive data. So enable multi-factor authentication. It takes about 30 seconds, but it'll make sure that your account is very secure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that we have great options for our merchants. So we have our two-step verification where a merchant can get an email that has a code sent over to them so they can enter in a specific code as a second authorization, a second step of verification. But last year we enabled two-factor authentication where merchants would download an app that manages that authentication for them. So it's a remote version. And we encourage all of our merchants and all of our internal employees, as well as all of our agency partners and tech partners, they have an account with BigCommerce. Enable that two-factor authentication in your control panel. Makes it just so much more secure. It's super easy to have it on your cell phone, click that extra authentication step, and it's more secure than two-step verification, but both are great. We just really want everybody to enable that two-factor authentication to keep everyone safe. So Francis, when we're talking about guiding internal teams, like I mentioned, we're wanting to have two-factor authentication enabled for everyone and really guide them to be security champions. First off, a lot of people might not be familiar with the term of security champion or security steward. Could you explain what that is? And also, why is it important to have them within a company's internal teams?
Bit of background information before I delve into what security champions are. So in most companies, you have your security team and you have application security engineers that manage the safety of the application itself. So normally a single application security engineer looks after about 4 to 7 teams in at least a medium to large firm. And each team has about 6 members if I'm generous. So that means a single application security engineer could look after 24 to 42 engineers, and that can be quite overwhelming and stressful. So originally a security champion or steward is a software engineer or developers that are security conscious or at least are very interested in security itself. And you would train them up to be a point of contact for their team so that other members of their team would reach out to them if there was anything that was security related. So these security related things could be best practices for anything that's security related and promoting security uplift programs. So by doing that, it actually takes quite a bit of stress off the application security engineers, but that doesn't mean I get to go and relax, of course.
Of course not.
If only. But because these security champions actually are still developers, they have their own day-to-day work, meaning they're still quite busy. So application security engineers themselves still help out on a day-to-day basis or whenever is necessary. But that term is about, I think, 8 years ago, anywhere between 4 to 8 years ago. Security champions now can be anyone that is internal within the company that can help promote like security awareness within a company to make it a lot more secure.
Yeah, absolutely. We want people who are, really passionate about security and helping others make it more approachable, make it easier to understand when there might be a risk and how to report it, what we need to do to make sure that all of our front lines and our back ends are all secure. So I really like that we have, folks from the security team that help across all of our business units here. So if we were to identify security champions within an organization's internal team, how would we go about doing that? And what kind of attributes would you look out for to, really find the right people to be the security champion?
That's a really good question.
Thanks.
I think going about this the correct way actually makes it a bit easier for recruiting
Sure.
champions.
Yeah.
If you go about it the wrong way, I don't think you're ever going to find a champion that's willing
No,
to.
no one wants to do it.
I'll go over the attributes first because it's a bit easier. But
Sure.
the attributes that I tend to look for are if they have any knowledge about security, if they're wanting to learn security, and of course if they're a team player, because well, you've got one security champion looking after a whole team.
Right.
And if the person is not likable or is not a good team player, it's going to burn a lot of bridges, and it's going to be very hard to make them approachable.
Right, right.
So there's three main approaches I go about looking for security champions. So the first method is what I call the direct approach. So application security engineers or the security team work closely with other members of other teams. So it's really easy to identify if someone is security savvy or if they're really interested in security, like from the way they ask their questions, or if they raised any security concerns in the past that might be like, oh, that person knows a thing or two about security.
Yeah.
In this case, I would suggest just reaching out to them directly and be like, hey, do you want to be a security champion? They'll most likely say yes, but worst comes to worst, you're just going to get a no. So it doesn't really hurt. The second step is a bit more tedious and a bit more technical, but it's going to be rewarding. So this requires you to run some sort of security contest or what is known as a capture the flag event. This is a weird one. So in this one, a CTF or capture the flag, it's where you create vulnerable applications or you set out security challenges for people to play. And it's basically like a test. You get points depending on what you get, and you get to see your ranking depending on everyone. It takes quite a bit of effort, like I said, because you have to announce the competition, you have to write the challenges,
Right.
you have to do a whole bunch of other things, and this could take, I think, a month to plan out. But in the end, you get to see who actually has strong security knowledge from a way, of course, the scoreboard looks.
Yep.
And thanks to that, you can definitely recruit really, really strong security champions in the end just by asking them, hey, would you like to join the program, similar to the first step.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. And you can also get people excited about security if they're playing these games and trying to capture that flag. You might actually draw the attention of people who never thought about being a security champion before. So I really like that approach.
oh, definitely. And it brings out the competitiveness within the company as well.
Yeah, for sure.
The third option, this is if the first two fails, is
Okay.
let's say no one puts their hand up for, don't know what reason, but in this case, just write up a form to get an expression of interest. Normally, the people who would put their name down for the expression of interest, they might not know security, but they're at least interested in it. Training them up shouldn't be too hard, but in this case, you still produce decent security champions, and it's well worth training them up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that finding people who are well versed in security is a really great approach. But then there's those folks that, like myself with my background, I didn't have a lot of training in security. And in partnering with the cybersecurity team from a product marketing perspective, I've learned so much that I can be a security champion for the marketing organization because it has become approachable to me. It's become very interesting to me. And so I think that those different approaches really get folks excited about security and what they can do and help protect everybody at that point. So those are really great options. So what about challenges that companies might face if they don't have anybody that wants to raise their hand? Would you look for leadership to assign people, or other kinds of ways to recruit and overcome any of these roadblocks? I feel like maybe some of the smaller companies or merchants that we work with might have a harder time rather than a larger organization.
Yes. So definitely. Like you said, smaller companies, they normally don't have the money to invest into a internal team. When it comes down to a newer company that doesn't have a internal team, sometimes it's worth asking basic security questions within an interview to see if they have any knowledge of security. This way, if you do hire them, it helps quite a bit down the long term. You save hundreds of hours not running into a lot of problems.
Right.
But at the same time, these questions, they shouldn't affect if an interviewee gets the job or not. Another way of going about this is there's a lot of platforms online now that teaches the basics of security, or at least does some training for security. It might be worth investing in a few licenses, or at least there's also some free YouTube videos that's quite worth it. Doing like lunch and learn sessions, sitting down with a team and seeing who might be interested in it. It might not be as effective, but at least you'll be able to get a small audience who might be interested in learning something new, and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's another really great idea. Some ways that I've seen it work, you have one person get assigned a topic and they have to learn about it and then come teach the rest of the team and rotate through those types of topics. I think that those are good ways to get everyone excited and become maybe a subject matter expert in certain areas, and, work on other skills that they might want to develop as well. How do you motivate team members to not only become that security champion, but, to continuing to be a security champion? Do you have any like secret sauce to raising that interest and keeping them going? Because, some people see security as very dry and boring, and now you and I know that it's not, but some other people might think differently. So what do you think is the secret?
Lies in the seat. No, but in all seriousness, there's a few ways. So to motivate them, there's, I think, two tricks.
Okay.
One is defining a program, and the other one is recognition and reward. So if you define a program, you have to set the goals that you want to achieve. You have to set what missions there are and what is expected of a security champion. This way, at least they know the kind of work they're doing. If they don't like it, they won't join from the beginning. And at the same time, nobody wants to really join a role that has no information. It's kind of like setting you up to fail.
Right.
If they resonate with what you wrote on paper, they'll be more than happy to join. The second part links with the program. So of course you would also write out your rewards. BigCommerce is a very lucky place where the culture is quite good, and you can shout out and recognize employees that's gone above and beyond.
Right.
And I've done this multiple times. But with rewards, you might be able to set up budgets to further their training in security by giving them certifications or licenses to platforms where they can train. And of course, everybody loves learning.
Yeah.
No one likes doing the same thing over and over again. Otherwise, you can give them security tools that help them improve their knowledge and, I guess, learn a bit more.
That's really helpful. So setting clear expectations of what they're getting into, letting them know how it can be rewarding, whether it's some kind of intrinsic reward or something else that they might, I think recognizing them with like our own internal recognition system is really great, because in that way it goes up to management. It's really nice to get to see that recognition from a manager's perspective. But then also, those extra educational sessions, learning credits, learning a new skill. I think those are really great ways to like motivate and to bring people back. And, if the security team came out with like a badge or something, I think that would help. Everybody want to get a badge too. So once you've recruited them, they've read their expectations, they know what the rewards are, they are excited. How do you work with them? How do you keep them engaged and keep them going?
Yeah. So recruiting is always the easy part, and it gets a lot harder from there.
For sure.
So one of the ways I like to work with my security champions is scheduling meetings. I know a lot of people don't like scheduling meetings. I tend to keep it short. I think about 30 minutes, and I don't do it on a week-to-week basis, but it's a more of either a bit ad hoc or between every fortnight or every month that I get a chance. So this is just a chance to catch up for security vulnerabilities that either me, the champion, or automated tools have identified and solutions to fix it, but also a chance to chat casually and build a healthy relationship. So keeping security champions engaged is a bit more difficult. So I think the secret to keeping them engaged is able to contribute knowledge, giving recognition, and rewarding your champions again. I think knowledge sharing is important because it allows both of you to learn, and it feels like the security champion gets the benefit of you. People have to remember that the champions are taking on extra roles without basically any extra pay. So it's taking a bit of time out of their work schedule. But I feel like as long as the champion learns something new or able to approach you to learn something new, it will be worth it. Another way to keep champions engaged is recognition and reward. So recognizing them to the managers, or giving out shout outs during team debriefs, or giving them rewards such as licenses and all of that makes the job a lot easier to keep them engaged.
Awesome. Thanks, Francis. That's all super helpful. So, thinking about the security champions at BigCommerce. So, do you have an example of how a security champion has helped reduce a bottleneck or solve a challenge for us?
Yes, and nothing is better than proof.
Yes.
So I'm very fortunate. The security champions I work with, they're just delightful and excellent to work with. They're very security savvy as well, so it makes my life a lot easier. I have an example. This happens quite often with the teams that I work with, where the security champions actually identify and remediate the security issues before I even have a chance to look at it.
Wow.
I don't think many companies can say that. So the devs makes changes to the code, but in order to actually add it to the code base and let it be seen in the product, it goes through a review process. This review process has some automated security checks, and normally it's just a development thing, but security gets caught in when sensitive items are added or if changed or for whatever reason.
Sure.
But on multiple occasions, shout out to the payments team in BigCommerce. The team actually has caught all the vulnerabilities before I even had a look at it, and they would tag me on it afterwards, going, "Hey, just a heads up, just to let you know," or can you please provide some remediation on this? So I'm quite thankful that I work with a good bunch of champions.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when we were working with some of our partners on our recent cryptocurrency launch, we had to go through quite a few rounds of security just to make sure everything was going to be great, because payments is a super important area for all of our merchants and all of their shoppers. And I know that the payments team worked really hard to capture any of the security vulnerabilities, work with those partners to make sure that they were addressed. And I think things are going really great with onboarding merchants right now with some of our crypto partners. So I think that you all have enabled and really inspired our product teams, our developers, and even other cross-functional teams like sales and marketing to really become a champion of security within BigCommerce. Because it does take all of us to make sure that security is at the top of our mind. So I think that the security team has really done a great job at that. So if we kind of take a step away from or security champions specifically, how do you think e-commerce businesses can help foster that stronger security culture like we have here at BigCommerce? Like, what can they do to inspire all of their employees?
I like that question a lot because it focuses on security in general rather than security champions, where there's a few things that you need before you can even start up a program. So fostering a security culture like BigCommerce is tough, but not so tough. So I believe there's 3 things that e-commerce businesses can do that at least can start off a security culture or help make it a bit stronger. So these 3 things are instilling the concept that security belongs to everyone and not just the security team.
Right.
Security awareness training, and of course recognition and rewarding those for doing the right things security related. The rewarding part of course ties in with the other 2. There's no point of not teaching anyone security and attempting to hand out rewards randomly.
Yeah.
So instilling the concept that security belongs to everyone, it's simple but not so simple, but it does have a huge impact, and I think this is one thing that e-commerce businesses should definitely focus on. A lot of people think that security itself belongs to the security team, and it does, but it doesn't. So for someone to feel like they're a part of the culture, the whole company has to have that culture, and that same concept applies to security culture. So in my eyes, everyone should take security in a company seriously, because it doesn't matter how high you're ranked or how low you're ranked. If one person gets breached, the whole company is in trouble.
Right.
So you can just achieve this by creating programs that caters towards the department or the role, and updating the company's vision or the mission to include that security is something that is focused on, and how you could focus on it, I guess, is the easiest way to go about it. Enforcing that is a whole different issue, though.
Yeah, sure. I think we could probably talk a whole bunch about how to enforce that. And I know that our VP, Dan, is our VP of cybersecurity, he would love it if we added, a healthy level of paranoia to our company missions and values, because it is something that he is really passionate about, making sure all of us are aware of the security possibilities that we can all support and embrace here at BigCommerce. So a healthy level of paranoia is our goal. So to wrap all of this up, do you have any final words or key takeaways for our listeners?
Yes. So before starting a security champion program, make sure that you have a decent security culture first. So one that doesn't involve security bullying, where the security team thinks that they're above everyone and they don't want to help out.
Yeah.
Or a culture where if you did something wrong that's security related, you get the blame for it. It should never be like that.
Right.
Security team is a team that someone should be able to rely on and contact at any point in time. And if you don't have a culture yet, or if you don't know how to start, or if you don't have an internal team, there's a lot of free resources online that definitely can help kickstart your security culture journey.
Yeah, absolutely. These are such great takeaways, Francis. So one other quick question. So if our listeners want more resources about cybersecurity awareness, where should they go?
OWASP Top 10, NIST, YouTube, searching for anything basically helps.
Awesome. We also do have some really great blogs on the BigCommerce website. We talk all about cybersecurity. We talk about different security things that we offer, from PCI compliance, DSS, all kinds of things. So for everyone listening, we'll be sure to include links to all of these resources. And Francis, if you have some specific ones you want to share out to our listeners, we'd be happy to include them in our episode description. And if you've liked what you heard today and want even more insights from security thought leaders like Francis, we are also hosting a cybersecurity video series throughout the rest of the month of October. So be sure to watch the rest of our videos on BigCommerce blogs, and we'll also link these in this show's notes. Be sure to check out more Make It Big podcast episodes for expert insights on the industry's latest trends, and share what you've learned on social channels with us at BigCommerce. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.